What is going on, my Atomic Cycle Works friends? Today, we're going to be making flames. I'm not going to bring you through the whole process of making the seats because we do it a lot, but I'm going to bring you through the process of actually designing the flames, laying the patterns out, stitching the flames, and kind of going through that. And we are going to be using a 1/4-inch sew foam on these. So it's not going to be a really deep pronounce. I think this one was 1/4-inch. Yeah, this should have been, oh, it looks a little thick. Huh. But we're going to be using 1/4-inch because it's going to look a little bit better and cleaner. This seat is a warranty. And what ended up happening is the reason we warranty this seat is, one, we have, for our really nice threads from Ceraphil, they're actually, we have indoor and outdoor ones. So the indoor ones have beautiful color. I mean, they're vibrant, they're just great. And the outdoor ones are kind of limited right now. And we were doing experiments where we were, before they really had the outdoor available, we were doing just the indoor and telling people it's good for show bikes and things like that. But we had good luck with them and didn't have any problems. So we started putting a lot of the indoor style threads that were really brilliant and vibrant on seats, and they looked incredible. Problem is certain people ride their bikes and a lot of them get out in the weather and too much sun fades them. So this one here was actually a really nice red, and now it kind of looks like an orange, just tangerine. And then this one here was a white. They kind of blend together. Also, one of the reasons too that I'm glad we're warrantying this is during COVID, a lot of vinyl manufacturers came and went out of business, and it was hard to get consistent products. A lot of colors and different things we actually had to stop making for a long time because they just weren't available. And to this day, they still haven't come back. Even on black vinyls, which is like always our kind of our safety net, is that very few black vinyls were not changed. And we have certain ones like this classic style here that we use, which we really like. Luckily for us, it's very similar to the way it used to be. You can actually put them side by side and it looks good. And it's hard for most people to really tell any of the difference. Everything is different now than it was before COVID. But there's other materials, like we actually accidentally ordered a material from East Coast or Coast to Coast Leather in New Jersey. And we're doing a seat repair on a Camaro. And it came in and it was a beautiful material. Like, I love the texture, love the feel of it. It was great. We ordered more of it, switched over, and we started doing a lot of motorcycle seats and car interiors with it. And we're having good luck. And then all of a sudden we order it and it's different, noticeably different. And so then we're like, okay, so we're gonna have to switch things now. We had to redo a couple of jobs that were already started with that material because now the new material was close, but not close enough. So then we start using that and we're like, okay, that's all right. And then it just kept doing the same thing. Every month or so, you'd order the same material, it'd come in and it was just different. It looked different, felt different. And we even called up and asked about it and they said it's the same, but it wasn't the same. Which led us to this material here, which originally looked really nice. And one of the reasons why I'm stressing out about this is it's brittle now, and it's only a few years old. So it's brittle. It didn't hold up really well like a vinyl should. And if you even look, like the top surface where you sit on got really shiny, almost buffed. And then the sides actually got flatter, almost like faded. So obviously, you know, it could be how it was taken care of, was or wasn't taken care of. There's a lot of factors. It could be out in the rain all the time. It could be out in the sun all the time. There's a lot of factors that factor. And I just know that prior to COVID, our marine vinyls that we use a lot of, they stayed up. They held their test of time. Obviously, any vinyl that you sit on and a material, the more you sit on it and move around and vibrate, you're going to buff it and polish it. So it's going to get kind of a shine sometimes. So what we a lot of times will end up doing is taking like a mineral spirits and washing it down and kind of letting it dry out a little bit and then conditioning it so that it's uniform again. But anyway, this material did not hold up. So we're going to redo it. And instead of going through the whole process, I'm going to pattern these out really quick. And we're going to jump right to the flames on this one. And I'm going to show you a couple of things that we do as a trick. So I went ahead and patterned all these pieces. And we're going to show you how to make flames by hand, no computers. For me, I enjoy it more that way. Computers are great and they're changing our world, but sometimes just good old-fashioned, your hand and some sort of pencil or chalk or marker or airbrush or something is so much better to me. Now, I know we're gonna get a lot of haters because there's a million ways to do this, right? My way is not always the best way. I'm just gonna show you a few ways that I've done it for the last 30 some odd years. So if you wanna do flames and you want them symmetrical, meaning you want each side to look the same, there's a few ways to do it. There's also some tricks too if you don't want it symmetrical, but you want it to look nice. And it was kind of funny because years ago, Alan Pastrana actually had told me a trick that he was doing with some of the flame jobs, and it was kind of a balance thing. So if you don't have the time to do it perfectly symmetrical and you have to get it done, a lot of times what you could do is you could actually balance the panel. So you might make this one stop here and this one come up here, but then you would do the opposite. You make this one longer and this one shorter, and you could kind of play it, and sometimes it'll actually look artistic and correct, and so it kind of throws you off from having to be perfect. And a lot of times that's, you know, if you have a really quick flame, you have to do that, that's what you do. So we'll start off and I'll show you some quick ways, and then we'll go on to some different ways. So the quickest way to do a flame, symmetrical, semi-symmetrical, would be snap your center line, right? And then you draw your flame out however you want it. I just sharpened this chalk and it's kind of weird. So you could do that, and then you take where it's folded in half, you would fold your material in half, and you could actually rub it, and then your flame transfers to the other side, and then you have a duplicate of it, and then you could go through and sharpen up and crisp it. With your center line, you could measure from your center line to make sure everything is the same, and then you would have two semi-identical. The problem with chalk is, if you watch our videos, it's thick, and even when you sharpen it, it doesn't last thin that long. I only did those two, and it's already a flat edge, so you have to just keep resharpening it, but you can get a flame job. It's very simple, it's very quick. If someone comes in and they don't want to spend a lot of money, but they want something, what I would do is do something like that, but then we would actually take and maybe shorten one side, extend the other side a little longer, shorten this side and extend this longer, so you have a non-symmetrical but a decent looking flame, and then when you stitch it, it's actually good. You also have ways of, like, we could take clear plastic, which we do a lot of, and we draw out our patterns on here, right? So you have clear plastic. Obviously you can see we've used this one because it has Pounce powder all over it. It's not good to fold these things up because then they look like this, and now every time you go to use it, you have to heat it up with the heat gun. If someone did that, we'll have to deal with it. The way you do this is you would draw it all out, then you would take your sewing machine, you take your needle, and you actually cut the bottom of the needle off. So instead of being a sharp, pointy needle, you have a flat, really wide needle. Take all your thread already out of it, so there's no thread and there's no bobbin in there, nothing. And then you just sew over it. And what that'll do is put a bunch of tiny little holes in here, and then you could actually pounce through it. And you ask, what's pouncing? Well, when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of stuff. We had, well, a lot of people, it's funny because a lot of people ask, oh, how do you get this stuff? How do you do this stuff? This is what we used to learn in kindergarten. I just never got any smarter and never aged. So these little pounce wheels are great because what you do is, if you run them across paper, you see, I don't know if you can see, I'll try to zoom in. There's little teeth on there. And yes, these are the newer ones. The older ones were 1,000 times better. I mean, just exponentially better. They're stronger. They don't wobble. They had better teeth on there and bigger teeth. So this one's the biggest I found with teeth on it, which actually looks like it's, yeah, this one's already worn and broken. I used to have a couple that were incredible, and then one of my old friends, Cliff, used to do artwork with me. He stole it because he said he loved it so much, and then I laughed because I thought I'd just buy more. Never found those again. Those were, I actually purchased those at, I think the good ones I purchased years ago at Jerry's Autorama in West Hartford, Connecticut. I'm going to probably have to go up there and see if they have it. These ones, obviously, we got online, and they're just garbage. They don't, if you're going to use these professionally, what happened is there's a hole that this thing spins on, and now it's oblong, so every time you do it, it's kind of like rocking. But we're going to do it on this one to get through it. I haven't bought new ones because we haven't been doing a lot of flames. Flames used to be super popular for us. You know, kind of everything goes in waves. I used to enjoy doing them. We would do them every single day. You have regular flames, tribal flames, scallop flames, you know, lobster claw flames, string flames, you know, all this different stuff we did all the time. And it just kind of faded away. Everything goes through a phase. Now everybody's more into cleaner seats with less busyness. And busyness is another thing I found. We used to go crazy and do a lot more flames. And the more flames you do, the less it looks like a flame and artwork for me. It gets to a point where it's just too busy. And when it's too busy, it kind of distracts you from what you're looking at. So for me, you have to kind of simplify the flame sometimes. You don't want them to look boring, but you don't want them too crazy. I used to do a lot of overlapping flames. So what you can see here is these flames actually go through and over the other flames. And a lot of people, what they used to do is just stitch across here. For me personally, you lose the flow. It doesn't look like a flame that would, like a line drawing artwork where it would go over it. It just looks like you just randomly stitch. So we're going to do this again, similar. And this one was red and white. We had red up here and white down here. And we are going to do, hey, Rick, we're doing red and white again on this, right? Yes. Okay, we're doing red and white, but we are using the marine gray thread, so it holds up for them. So now, boom. I have the flame that we want to do here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do this on paper, and I'm going to start with the backrest first because the backrest is smaller. Normally, I actually just use masking paper from our body shop, but we don't have any of the large masking paper. So what I did is I grabbed last month's calendar, and we're just going to use that. So I'm just going to put my center lines on here. Your center is super important when you're flaming. I'm going to trace out our pattern. I don't care about all the stitch marks, and it doesn't have to be perfect. The better you make it, the better it's probably going to come out. So now I have this here. Most important is our center lines. And when we do our center lines, we want to measure out our things. So what happens is, if you have a center line and your flames are off, and then this flame's closer to that flame, it's very noticeable. Some people might not never notice it. Most of our customers notice it, so we have to make sure it's right. So what I like to do is go through and measure. So I'll take this here and I'll say this is 8 inches to the edge of this, and 8 at the center. 8 and 8 is 16. So we go out here and go 16, and I can see that we're kind of about 1/8 off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double check. I'm going to move this here. Put this at 16 and go to 8. So I could see that our center line is a tiny, tiny bit off, right, from our pattern. So it's possible that the pattern is just 1/8 of an inch cockeyed or whatever. So I could adjust our, center line and move it over 1/8 of an inch to line it up. But knowing this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mark here, and what's going to happen is I don't have to move it 1/8 of an inch over. I have to move it 1/16 of an inch over. So 16th will make up because it'll be a 16th over here, and now it'll be a 16th over here, which is very small. And since we're going by the center, and we're going to use our center line, we'll be good. So now I'm going to look at these flames and say, okay, this is definitely, obviously, this is a tribal design. Customer didn't complain about the artwork on it, so we're just going to do something very similar. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. We already did this. So I want to do it a little bit better. This is going to be white. This is going to be red. So we're going to do the white ones first. So I want to, if you're worried about perfection and you're worried about time, you don't want to have your artwork go really close to the edge of the seams, because if you do mess up, if that butt seam is a 1/16 of an inch off and you're right up to that line, and you see that your flame stops a 1/16 of an inch over here, and then it's 1/8 over here, stuff like that's noticeable. So you'll see a lot of times you could keep a bigger gap here. Then if it's a 1/16 of an inch off, there's no way to really tell. You know, I don't think, originally we didn't do it that way on the seat. We just did it this way because that's the way I liked it. So we're going to do a little different. I don't like these lobster claw shit. I just never did. I mean, they always had those stubby flames. I used to hate those. Some people love them. It's just not my thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do here, right? And we want to do this. I want to keep it simple. I just want to exasperate that. Is that a word? And then we're going to come down here. And one thing I found with flames, which I'm very rusty at these, so we're going to be changing this and redoing this as we go. And I'm going to show you why. When I do flames, I like to look at them and see flow and different things like this. And so this being a tribal, it's hard to explain. Some people see it, some people don't see it. When you do a flame, if you have the flame tip too fat here or too skinny and too long, to me, it just doesn't look right. You want a nice gradual transition. And so if you look up here, this one is too sharp, and it goes from fat to nothing. And this one just stays fat to nothing. So I'm going to change that, and we'll see if it makes a difference to you. It might not. So I'm going to erase it. That's why we use the pencils a lot. And I also have a bad habit of doing these like frayed lines as I'm doing this, because I like to kind of like make my lines go in a certain flow, and then when I come with the pounce wheel, I overcorrect it, which Some people really don't like that. And I get it because it's like almost like you have to guess at some point. So we'll see if you notice the difference. I should have just done it. So there's a lot of different things in flames, and everybody has their own style. I'll do certain things and then I'll like it and then I don't like it. So I just clean this up a little bit. And you can just see as you're going. Now I extended this one so it's gradually comes to a point. Same thing with this one. I brought the points a little bit and extended this one down. I'm not digging this here. I'm going to see if we could do something different. Sometimes the way things flow, like I like to have things flow. So if you look at this line here, we kind of flow into that line there. Same thing, this one kind of flows into that one. And since we're doing the white and then the red, and there's going to be a lot going on here, sometimes you could get away with it being a little different. But I'm going to change that. I don't know exactly how I'm going to change it, but we're going to change it. Sometimes as you do these, you learn to respect other people's artwork because you see their flow. Since this is a tribal, I think I'm going to actually do something different on this one. We'll try this out and see if it works. If it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. I put a little devil's tail on here to break it up a little bit. It's still a little much on the bottom here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Just so I put the little devil tail up here, but for me, this area just looks a little too fat, says the fat guy. So I'm going to change this around a little bit. And what I'm going to do is bring this down a little farther, and then we're going to bring the devil's tail up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go with this. It's almost like a little crown's hat. Okay, so what I did is I extended this down, brought this devil's tail back up. This isn't really huge for me. I don't like this, but we're going to go with it. And I also radius this, because one of the big things for me with transitions is as you come around, if this is too fat and then gets too skinny or stays too fat, it just doesn't look right. So I like to have this radius a little bit nicer. It's my style. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. Now, we're going to go through and do this outer flame here. And we want that a little bit different. So that's going to be red, but we want to keep the same style flow. And I am going to change this up a little bit. We're still going with the tribal. I'm going to continue that off of here. So a lot of times I'll just rough it out and see where I'm going. And then kind of come back. See if I like it. And if I don't like it. Okay, so we're looking like Batman here, so we're going to have to tweak this a little bit. I do kind of, well, I think what we're going to do is this one flows with this one, so we're going to have this one go across here. Get that radius better. This one's going to flow into there. No, I don't like that. Definitely don't like that. Clean that up a little bit. We like this. So this is going to have a nice radius. I just messed that radius up. I'm going to do a little shorter radius. This will come here. Let's get that so it flows a little better. I'll show you in a second. So I'm just kind of going through as I'm drawing. I'm just doing different things to see if I like it or don't like it and changing them up as we go. This to me was way too fat, so I brought this up higher, this distance here, to kind of fill that in. I threw in a little devil's tail here to break this up. And then I'm going to have this flow down and then back in and give it a nice design here. Make it go a little farther than I did the last one. Now I'm just cleaning up the thicknesses of things, making it so that it's not too long and thin or too short and fat. That stops there. Okay, so I think we're going to keep it kind of simple like this. I like this design better than the original one we did. So that's that there. I think it has a little bit of better flow. And so now we get to transfer it to that piece. Well, yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out where our centers go here on both sides, right? And now I need to get something so we get pounced through. I need a piece of cardboard. So now we're ready to pounce it. I'm going to grab the one with the bigger teeth on it because one's really fine. The bigger one's not big enough. From past experience with this stuff, I know that this pounce wheels suck. They don't work that well. Hopefully we can find some better ones. I'm just going to go through, and you do have to be careful when you're pouncing stuff because you could rip through the material like I'm doing here a little bit. And if you over pounce it, you're going to have torn material because you're basically just perforating it. And it is a challenge to go around the radiuses with this and have it flow nice. So when we come back and mark it afterwards, we are, man, I am screwing up. I haven't done this pounce wheel a long time, and because it's off, you can see, when I don't know if you can see that, it's moving like a 16th of an inch when you touch it, so I got to be careful. So I'm just going to go around. I don't know if this is going to work or not. Get this pounce wheel shot. I'm just going to fold this in half. And I know from experience these pounce wheels suck. So we're going to fold it in half. Yes, you could put transfer paper under here, just fold it, tape through, draw through it, transfer it onto there and pounce it out. I'm going to do it with the pounce powder because I think it's going to suck anyways. So I want to make sure that this lines up on our lines, half down to the center. Okay, we're good. Now I'm going to use, so you can use pounce powder. They sell it. We actually, because there's a lot of hardware stores around here, we'll use chalk for snapping lines. You should check because some of this stuff is highly cancerous, they say. So don't go and sniffing it all. And I'm just going to grab a piece of soap foam and we're going to push it through and show you how bad this works because it usually doesn't work that good. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I double checked, but I pretty much always miss this. So I'm using a firmer, don't do that, firmer soap foam. So it forces it through these little tiny holes. And so now you can see how shitty that did. And now we're going to go through and try to clean it up. So what we're going to do is I always take the ones that I can see first and outline those. I use the blue chalk just because we're on white material. On the black material, we'll use orange. And yes, we're going to have to be very careful to clean it off because if we're using white thread, blue or orange will get on that thread and ruin it. So this came through better than I thought. Usually it doesn't come through this good. I'm sure it won't go through this good onto the vinyl. I'm also, as I'm doing this, you'll notice I'm keeping my hand away from the area and I extend the pencil over it so I'm not brushing my chalk dust off because it's very easy to do that. I'm like an idiot. I'm doing this on top of the cardboard that I just pounced. So there's a whole bunch of holes and crushed cardboard that is messing this up. Every time I go around it, you can see the pencil wiggles. Now we got that good. So now we get rid of the pounce powder, right? We don't need that. Get out of here. We don't need you anymore. So now the fun begins, right? This is where it goes from fun to now you got to think a little bit. So what I do is I start from my center line, work my way out, and I say, okay, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1/4 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. So we are off. So we're going to have to move this closer to 1/4. And this is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, just over 1/4, maybe a 30-second over 1/4. So even though it seemed like a big deal, we're really not that far off. So I'm just going to do that here. And I'm going to move down and keep checking. So the same thing. This is literally the same spot. We're probably a 64th off at most, which is really not a lot because we won't have a center line on here afterwards. Right there, it goes a little farther away. And then what's important for me is when you come to the tips, right? So if you want this to be symmetrical, we're going to do, this is 5/8. I'm going to do a line here at 5/8. And then we're going to do the same thing here. So at 5/8, I want this tip to go right down to that 5/8 mark, right? And we want it to look the same because you definitely don't want your thread wider on one side than the other because that will really make it look good or bad. We're going to go through the same thing here. So I'm looking at this here. If you look at it, because I just pounced it, you can see that this is up here and this is down here. So we want to make sure. So you could come through with a square, go off your center line, and then find your tip, and then measure. This one is 7/8, 7/8, right? So we'll do the same thing. 7/8 is right here, so we want to make sure this. Basically, it looks like I folded this a 16 to a 64 off in one direction. And then here, I'm going to do this one. I don't like that ruler. Is 1 5/8 again. So we're going to do 1. Wait, not that bad. It looked worse than it was. Okay, so that goes there, that goes there. All I'm doing is I put a little 90-degree pouch. So it gives it the both directions to go in. I'm going to do that to every tip. All right, we got the train going by. I don't know if you guys hear that. Okay, so I just went through and pounced the other side. And I was going to just go on and do this onto the piece, but I didn't want to jump too far ahead. I thought you guys might want to see how crappy this works sometimes. It's not as easy all the time. I'm just going to cut this, so I'm going to slack off of this because I want to line this up a little better. Now I don't have to slide this pattern over when we put it on because of that 1/16 of an inch I talked about. I kind of corrected when I went through and made all my marks. So what I do is I put a little line, little L, and that shows me where the tip has to go. So if I stop the needle in the V, and right there in that little V, every tip's going to be in the same place. So now I'm going to put this on here. We're going to line up. We got our center line. I can see that. I can see that. Now we're going to go to orange. Orange, you're glad I didn't say banana. Oop, that was a lot. That was a lot of pounce powder. So now you got to hold this thing firm, and you really want to go in one direction. If you try to go back and forth, it moves material. I'm trying to do it, but I really don't want to do it. And if you push too hard, it stretches the material, or it might move the graphics away. So it's a kind of a happy marriage you got to do here. And I want to try to get some of this pounce powder over here. I'll hold this firm. I'm just going to drag this away. This is the ones you don't want to mess up because it becomes a pain. Because then if you mess this up too bad and then you go to transfer it, there's a high probability that you might as well have just plotted all these points and then connected the dots yourself. So let's see. You ready? Ooh. That looks horrible, right? You can barely see anything. All right, so now we're going to take a little bit of time, and I'm going to correct this with the space pen. And for anybody who's new to our videos, all this stuff will have links in the description to go buy it if you want to try it. This is fun, arts and crafts. And then if it's not a link in the description, if you see this on a short or something weird, you could always go to our website, atomiccycleworksgarage.com. Click on the copycat link. In that copycat link, you'll see tools, supplies, all the stuff we use. It might not be from the suppliers we purchase it from because we buy wholesale, but there are places you can buy them from on the retail level, and it's pretty much the same stuff we have. Some of it is the same stuff we use. So now I have the tedious journey of taking this space pen, which is a pain, because if there's too much pounce powder on this piece, it is going to clog up the space pen, and then it's a pain in the tail. So let me go through and mark all this. And once I mark this, I'll show you when it's marked. Okay, so I have all of our points plotted on here and everything very symmetrical. Now, I kind of went over what you would do for a low-end seat and not as detailed as you do for a high-end seat. It's kind of right in the middle. So when you look at this, everything's going to look correct and proper. Differences are, like on a high-end seat, you would have everything to a 64th of an inch, which is crazy on upholstery because material stretch and things go different. You know, things are crazy. So the more detailed you get it, the better it's going to look. With this one here, we went farther than we should have. So it's going to look really nice. But I'm also stuck on the fact that our videos are to help the people that want to learn because they want to see what we do. Great, you'll see what we do. But then there's a lot of people out there who want to do this. And a lot of people, I find, like we have customers all over the country who live in areas that don't have seat shops, don't have bike shops. And like bike shops are pretty much gone now anyway, but it's getting really difficult. So we're showing you stuff you could do if you want to do it at home. With that in mind, links in our description for materials. This is actually one we're trying to just show you that you could just get this offline. It's just a regular sew foam, because a lot of people, what happens is our suppliers sell to shops. And then a lot of the retail places, sew foams and things like that, you can find them on there. You don't really know what you're going to get, and they take a long time sometimes to get, and shipping could be, you know, for a roll of this stuff could be $100 to your house. So it kind of takes the fun out of it when you have, you know, 3 different types of foam that cost $100 each to ship, and it kind of gets crazy. But this here, we'll put a link. The downfall of it, it comes folded up, right? So you get these stupid creases, which are bad. The good part is it's a soft foam, and you don't see it. You won't see it. I actually did a test because before I wanted to do this with you guys and show you, I wanted to make sure that we could do it. I don't want to say you could do something and not be able to do it. So I'm just going to take this sew foam here, right? And we're going to cut this out, and I'm going to glue this on here. Ooh. And then we're going to sew it. And that'll be the fun part. But before that, I am going to do the same thing to the front seat. I won't bore you with doing this all over again. All right, so I went and set 2 machines up, one with red thread and one with white thread, so we can just kind of bounce back and forth and knock this right out. This one has the red. The inside is the red. So I'm going to start. Ooh, look at that, a little baby dragonfly. Good luck. That's a good luck right there. You don't really see baby dragonflies much. Now, let's see. I'll start right here, red and red. So what I like to do when we're doing a lot of rounded curves and stuff in flames is I reduce the size of our thread so that it actually goes around the corners better, so you have more of a nice radius versus like a choppy, jagged look. And then you also gotta be careful because you don't want to do too tight of a small of a thread because then it just looks like a line. So it has to be a really thought out thing. Okay. So I'm just gonna go right up to our little marks that we have, those little L's. I'm gonna put this right in this pocket, bring it down the needle and start to come back up. And then we're gonna go through and switch it. If you don't bring it down and then come back up a little bit, many times when you go to turn the machine, it pulls the thread out and then you'll have like a missing spot on it. And you can see I actually already went and did the other one. We're just gonna go through and do the back now because I am in a hurry, but I want you to see this. And now with this stuff too, I do the red thread on top, but I do keep the black thread on the bottom. Sometimes if your bobbin's off a little bit and if the pressure's not right and you don't have the black thread in there, it'll look like a red string and you don't want that. You definitely want the definition of a stitch so you can see each stitch. Okay, so we're gonna go right to the end here. And this one I did do a little bit smaller design, so I gotta be careful because when you come around the corners, you just really don't want it to look choppy. So we're gonna go through here real slow. And then I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're right to the end. Go in that little pocket, down a little up, and I'm gonna walk it right to the thread that we started at. And once it's there, I make sure that this goes right in the existing hole. Make sure that that looks good. And now what we're gonna do is pull one of these threads through. So you can see because we have the different bottom thread and the top, we pulled that through. Now I'm looking at here, I just want to make sure that when I pull this one through, it actually pulls through in the right location, because if it doesn't, you would actually see a missing stitch, but we did pull through in the right place. So that looks like continuous. So now we just tie these off, 2 greens, light green bobbin thread, I don't know why it's dark, thought it was black. Now we're gonna tie this off, 3 times the charm. And then we snip it. Now we're gonna do the white thread. Start off there. Just like that, I jumped ahead again, put the seat together. I gotta clean it up now, but you can see the red and white look really nice together. Obviously, I gotta clean all the markings off here, and you know, that's it. You know, so you got to see from start to finish how we design the seats and a little bit of the sewing. We're gonna do some more videos on more in-depth sewing and stuff like that. It's just right now, we need to get this going. Rick's waiting behind me because it's going to Tennessee with him. So almost forgot to finish the video. So please, if you like the video, remember, like, share, subscribe, follow, ring the bell. Thanks for watching.